All right, everybody. It's time for the Boss Rush Banter of the Week. This is a segment where we highlight one of the Boss Rush Banter features over on the website, bossrush.net. This one is from Josh Martinez. A gaming masterpiece transcends the limitations of its time. Basically, I just want to talk about games that you think, if they came out today or they came out 40 years ago or somewhere in between, their quality transcends time. Obviously, for me, Tetris is the one, right? I mean, I have Tetris, some form of Tetris on every single device that I own.
Same. Yeah.
Sometimes 2 or 3 versions, like my Switch, where I have Puyo Puyo Tetris, Tetris 99, and Tetris Effect all downloaded. So yeah, I just kind of want to go around the horn and see who thinks what. Pat?
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking on you first.
Thank you. I will have to go with Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
This game not only really created the renaissance of the Metroidvania. Metroidvania still use a lot of the systems that Symphony of the Night, played on. So I feel like you could bring a port of Symphony of the Night over, and it would still be just as good today as it was back in 20 plus years ago. I also said Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I was just going to say it's one of my gaming shames is I've never played Castlevania, any of them.
Well, it's on. Symphony of the Night's on PS5 in a collection.
Yeah.
And even though they changed the voice acting, which I don't love, it's definitely worth playing.
I had that whole speech memorized, and they had to go and screw it up.
Yeah.
What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets? Have at you!
Wow. That's spot on, Pat.
Thank you.
I can only imagine. I have the Xbox 360 arcade version on my Series X, so maybe it's...
And that's the best version, if you ask me. That's how I played it the most, was on the Xbox 360 version.
Cool.
I got my PS1 version still in the library over there.
Nice.
I also said Elder Scrolls Oblivion would be another good one. For me, that kind of brought about the beginning of massive open world RPGs where you play how you want to play. There's no real restrictions. If you want to be a jerk, go ahead and play as a jerk. If you want to be the good guy and try and solve everyone's problems, you can go ahead and do that. It opened up a lot of just role playing in general, I feel.
Nice. Yeah, Oblivion. I had Oblivion and Gears of War were the only 2 games I had for Xbox 360 for a year, until Halo 3 came out, I think. LeRon, what about you?
I've got a few. We all know, I'm a big Metroid fan.
What?
And yeah, I say Super Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission combined. That's something. Of course, in modern game speak now, of course, Metroid Zero Mission is actually. People are going to hate me for this. It's the superior version compared to Super Metroid, but that does not mean that People
shouldn't hate you because you're right. I play both those games. I play all of these games often, and I love Super Metroid. Zero Mission's the better game, hands down, without a doubt.
Super Metroid needs the Zero Mission treatment. If I'm not mistaken, if I feel that way because, in all honesty, Super Metroid was great when it came out on the Super NES. Do not get me wrong, and I still play it. I can't speed run it anymore, but I still play Super Metroid whenever I get that wild hair. But it's a product of its time. Samus is floaty. Look, it feels like things are kind of OP in the game and stuff like that. But it's still a masterpiece on its own. But I smashed those 2 together because Metroid Zero Mission definitely got all the inspiration from Super Metroid to do a complete remake of an NES game. That was sparse on graphics. So yeah. I also said throwing back for more Nintendo history, I also said the original NES edition of Bionic Commando. Now, hear me out, because the first thing everybody wants to bitch about when they think about the old school Bionic Commando game, is that guy couldn't jump. It was a platformer, the guy couldn't jump. That's what the Bionic armor was for. He could swing and like traverse like terrain and stuff like that. The reason why I say Bionic Commando, because like it was obvious like the English version was definitely like trying to like dance around the whole Nazi thing and stuff like that. So we get like this very imagined like army that has all these Nazi tropes and stuff like that. The original Japanese game, it was definitely the Nazis. They as a matter of fact, I think even Nazis or Hitler is in the title for Bionic Commando and stuff like that. The reason why I say this game though is because like right when you're at the final act of the game and stuff like that, when you're trying to escape, you have to get past the big bad who's resurrected Adolf Hitler and stuff like that, and I kid you not, like your kill shot for this guy, you actually see this dude's face obliterate. That was a shock for me, because that was an NES game. And to this day, I don't think an NES game has ever had that type of like graphic like depiction of like, normally you just shoot a guy, they just fall and stuff like that. But it has cinematic for what happened to this guy's head when you kill him. And it was wild and stuff like that. So yeah. And then to bring it a little bit closer to our era, but still a throwback, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Now a lot of people have probably noticed about me, especially if like you've listened to the Crossroads podcast back in the day. Metal Gear Solid 3 was a game that I did not like when it first originally released on PS2. Like it was something. I think mainly it was about the terrain and traversal and stuff like that. It felt like they were trying to go open world on it. Like it's still sandbox in my opinion, because like there was only one right path to go, like, to progress the story and things like that. But, I didn't appreciate it when it first came out on PS2, but when the MGS HD collection came out, I replayed it then. I played it on the PS Vita, and I understand why everybody loves this game, and I understand why this game like is a standout title. Like people are gonna say like Metal Gear Solid, like the very first one, is like the pinnacle of the series. But Metal Gear Solid 3, I feel like Kojima could do no wrong by that point and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he was at his peak.
Man, another gaming sin for me is never playing Metal Gear, any of the Metal Gear games.
I've never played
I've
never played a single Metal Gear Solid game.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like stealth games. Besides the Batman games, like I never really play stealth games, so I skipped all those.
You can play MGS 1 and 2 without stealthing. MGS 3, you need to stealth.
Yeah.
MGS 4, you can play without stealthing.
MGS 3 makes you feel bad if you kill a lot of people later.
Yeah, it does. It does. oh yeah, because a boss fight basically involves every single person you killed in the game up to that point.
Mm-hmm. And how you killed them. So
you killed them, yeah.
Shot at someone, they will be walking around with their hands over their nuts.
Oh, that's graphic.
It is graphic.
Matt, what about you?
I mean, the obvious answer is Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is one of the best RPGs ever made.
Yes.
It is one of the best games ever made. It's my favorite game of all time. And I know people who played it for the first time last year who were like, wow, this game's incredible. Yeah. Some people may not think it holds up to like its stellar reputation. I don't agree with that necessarily, but I think it is flawless for what it is, and one of the best RPGs ever made. The other one is, so I agree with Zero Mission, but for me, Metroid Fusion will always be the better Metroid game. I love every Metroid game, but Fusion I play once a year, every year, especially now that's on the Switch, the NES NSO, and I love Metroid Fusion. When I got my Analog Pocket, the first cartridge I popped in was an original copy of Metroid Fusion. Nice. I think it takes the Metroidvania style, but putting it in specific parts of the map and locking you to smaller areas to fully explore was revolutionary for the time. Obviously, Dread takes a lot of inspiration from that as a direct sequel, and I love Dread. But I think it's got some of the best boss fights, I think, in the history of the franchise and in Metroidvania history. And it's a horror game. I mean, all the Metroid games are creepy, but like Fusion is a horror game. There's some
man, just
scary
getting dogged
shit.
but just getting dogged by the SAX is wild.
Oh my god. Oh, the first time you see her,
Yeah.
horrifying. And then a more recent one, though it is 10 years old, which kind of blows my goddamn mind. Shovel Knight is a game that could have existed on the Nintendo with not some of the bells and whistles, and it can exist now. Shovel Knight is one of my favorite indie games ever made. I love Yacht Club games, and especially all of the campaigns are great, but the original Shovel of Hope campaign is just, I think it's a perfect like action platformer. I can't think of a single flaw with that game. So those are like my major 3 picks.
Shovel Knight's good.
Just real quickly, because I want Matt to be mad as I ask Pat and Corey this question. Did you guys listen to that podcast I sent you? This guy did a breakdown. This guy, he's a musician. He's a musician, and he heard he heard the Chrono Trigger soundtrack for the first time, and he was wowed. And when I said first time, I mean like a month ago. He heard it for the first time ever and stuff like that because people requested, hey, like do like listen to this and do breakdowns of like the score and everything and stuff like that. Did you guys listen to that, Pat and Corey?
Nope.
Matt, you have my permission to yell at them. Yell at them for me.
I mean, I'm not gonna yell at them, but it is definitely worth watching. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched a bunch of it, and like, I mean, Chrono Trigger has. I can't say that Chrono Trigger is the best game ever made because I think there's some hyperbole there. There is no hyperbole in saying that Chrono Trigger's soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks ever made.
One of the best video game soundtracks
without a doubt.
Made.
Yes, Mitsuda.
Yeah, I mean,
so good.
It's just so good. So definitely check out that video because it's really wild to see someone who has like not a lot of video game experience and had never heard that soundtrack break it down.
Yeah,
because it's masterful. I mean, I've ranted and raved for ages. My favorite theme is Magus's theme, and it wasn't until I was adult that I realized it was a bossa nova track. Like it's got. Like I can picture the like dancing and like the step to step, and it's brilliantly.
It's always going to be the Zeal theme for me, like the Island in the Sky. Oh my god, it brings me so much joy whenever I hear that track.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. I understand all these references.
Sure. Corey,
go walk out in the traffic after this recording.
I might.
Listen to the Chrono Trigger soundtrack first. I can do that.
Oh, yeah. Should I listen to it while I'm walking out in the traffic? Is there a sad?
There are tons.
There are tons of sad ones. Like shoot when you know, and you know what? Now I think about it, Chrono Trigger. I think Chrono Trigger was like an enigma when it came out because, to my knowledge, that's the first game ever where the main character dies and you have to continue the game as the sub characters.
Spoilers.
Hey,
for a very old game.
Yeah, it's for a very old game. Like shit. Like people.
But yeah, no, it was the first time that a game had like changed, like remove the protagonist based on something that happens in the game. Yeah. It was revolutionary. It did a lot of things for the first time, and it's just kind of wild.
And I feel it got time travel right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's still loopholes. There's still holes in the plot,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's definitely one of the better time travel stories. And also, like, it's the only time that before. I mean, now they're one company, but it was the only time that like the two most popular RPG makers like lent people to like folks from Enix, famous folks, you know, the Dream Team, came over to Square to make this game. Like they weren't a combined studio yet. It's just wild. It's unheard of. Like imagine if like Neil Druckmann and Cory Barlog teamed up to work on a game together over at Sony. Like that just doesn't happen anymore. So it's just kind of wild.
Hideo and Suda51 and Squarey and
that would be a weird game, whatever that was.
Throw in Jordan Peele for that American, attraction.
Speaking of team ups, my other answers are Turtles in Time and Hyperstone Heist. I play those a lot. Now, especially because the Cowabunga collection has made it easier. Although you should buy it physically, because I hear the rights are running out for that very soon too. So, which is a little ridiculous, but whatever. So, man, Shovel Knight, what a good choice! I love Shovel Knight so much.
I really want to replay it, but I don't have the time.
The Spectre Knight campaign is also very good.
I mean, they're all excellent. I happen to like the King Knight one best because I think it's the funniest. But they're all great.
Yeah. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.